Hello, everybody. I'm just going to walk you through the study guide here. Just a reminder that the final will cover everything from the semester. So this study guide doesn't go over everything that could be on the test. This is more to help you make some notes. It will help you be ready to take an open book final and be more efficient in that, and to remind you of some of the common stumbling points for students. So after a few years of teaching this, you start to pick up on the things that usually cause the most troubles. So I went through the workbook just in order, and these are the things that stood out to me. Hybridization. So just a reminder, if you have 4 regions of electron density, so say you have, that would be like ammonia. So we have 4 regions of electron density there. Or another example could be something like methane. That's maybe a little easier to see because we don't have a lone pair. The geometry would be tetrahedral, means we have about 100.5 degree bond angles, sp3. 3 regions of electron density, that could be something like formaldehyde would be a good one. So 120 degrees trigonal planar around the central atom, sp2. 2 regions of electron density could be like acetylene, something like that. Then we have 180 degree bond angles, sp hybridization. So I don't think that's particularly difficult. It's just easily forgotten. Electronegativity, mark page 37 in your workbook. I think what works well is to use post-it notes, sticky notes, or some kind of paper where you can write things on the tabs, so then you can know exactly where to find it in your workbook. So page 37 has the periodic table with all the electronegativities you could ever need. So you'll want to do that. Remember the trends. For instance, more polar means we have a bigger difference in electronegativity between the 2 atoms of that particular bond. More polar means you have stronger intermolecular forces. That means we have stronger attractions, which means things like higher boiling points. So if you flip the page from 37, you can have a reminder of that. Acids and bases, mark page 42 for the table of strong acids and strong bases. Remember to look for the R groups. So strong acids aren't as cut and dry as they were in Gen Chem. For instance, a sulfuric acid can have a number of different R groups, so remember to be aware of that. Page 45 has the table of pKa's, which is also helpful to have marked. With resonance, remember that no atom-to-atom connections are severed. It says severed, it should say severed, sorry. And no atoms rearrange with a resonance structure. Only electrons move, and only to adjacent atoms or bonds. So even now, before Thanksgiving, I saw people having some issues with that. So make sure you're aware of that. Remember that more resonance structures, more resonance opportunities means we have a lower potential energy, which means we have lower pKa, which means that we have a weaker base, and the conjugate acid is stronger. So the conjugate acid will be stronger because the acid's conjugate base is resonance stabilized, which means it's more stable, more likely to hang around. Formal charges are also a sticking point. It's important to know how to quickly and easily determine them, and we do that by knowing bond order first. So bond order is how many bonds an atom wants to form. So determine the number of electrons the atom lacks to form an octet. So if we look at the periodic table, carbon is in column 14. That means it needs 4 more electrons to have a full shell, a full octet. So if it needs 4 electrons to complete the octet, that means the bond order is 4, and it will preferentially form 4 bonds. Likewise, if it's in column 13, it has 3 valence electrons, column 16 has 6, and so on. So if more bonds are formed than the bond order, the formal charge will be positive. Think of, ammonium is a good one for that. nitrogen's bond order is 3, but it has 4 bonds, has a positive formal charge. If fewer bonds, the formal charge will be negative. So we can think of hydroxide. Oxygen wants to form 2 bonds. Here it has 1, therefore a negative formal charge. Nomenclature, there are lots of rules, so know them. You don't want to be wasting your time flipping around trying to figure out how to name an alkene, so just know how to do it beforehand. Don't forget Newman projections, they'll be around. Cycloalkanes, check out question 7 on page 100. It's a good way to review those. Don't forget chair conformation, chair flips, and that sort of thing. Review carbocation stability, that's on page 115, and what implications carbocation stability has on all sorts of things. Don't forget carbocation rearrangements, and that they occur only on neighboring atoms. Reactions, there are lots of reactions, so first know them. It's much better on an open book test to use your book to confirm your answer is correct rather than to spend time hunting for reactions because you have no idea which one it is. So know your reactions, use your book to confirm your answers rather than to start from scratch. Your completed FGT notebook will be really helpful. It should be divided into categories based on the functional groups that are formed. So therefore, if you know you need to form an alcohol, turn to your alcohol section of your FGT and go from there. Likewise, your textbook can also has designations like that. So reactions, know them, but also know how to use your resources in order to find them quickly. Chirality is tricky, it's fiddly, it is probably one of the most common things that people make mistakes on, myself included. Smith, which is the big textbook, not the workbook, page 258 would be a good place to check for help there, as well as YouTube tutorials. There are several methods to determine R and S. Choose one of them. They all work. Choose one that makes sense to you and stick to it and make sure you know how to do it. Be sure to be well versed in terms like enantiomer, diastereomer, so on. Those terms, conformers, and all those other things, those are good ones to just have a note card of handy so that you don't have to go hunting for those definitions. Have that ready to go so you can use it right away. Then our special class of reactions, the substitution and elimination reactions, SN1, SN2, E1, E2. These are the most important reactions. They are also the most challenging reactions because they're not always cut and dry. They can give mixtures of products. They can be swayed one way or the other based on temperature, based on the solvent, and all kinds of things. So to help you do this more efficiently, mark page 181, which is your leading groups and nucleophiles. Mark page 207, which will show you small and large bases. Make sure you know how to distinguish polar product, polar aproduct, and non-polar solvents from one another. Mark page 210, that's that decision tree that helps you decide if things will be E1, E2, SN1, or SN2. Make sure you understand everything on page 210. Make sure you know why SN1 favors a tertiary carbocation. Make sure you know why SN2 favors primary carbocations, or primary alkyl halides. Make sure you understand how that table is used because you don't want to be sitting there trying to figure it out on your test. So once you are pretty sure you have it down, go back and make sure you actually do understand it. So spend a good amount of time on making sure you know these reactions because they're tough. As always, please let me know if you have questions as you're studying. I put my phone number on Moodle, so you can feel free to text me. I will be in and out over the weekend, so you can feel free to text me over the weekend if you have questions, but just know that I may not be super quick to respond. So I hope this helps you get a good start on your on your test studying, check out my email that I sent on December 1st, that outlines some other things, due dates and other stuff to make sure you're aware of. And yeah, once you finish up with this, if I don't hear from you, I hope you all have a good break. I want to say your papers, most of them looked like they were a really good start, and I'm looking forward to reading those once you make sure you do the edits. And yeah, I'll talk to you later.